Now, let me ask you, Georgia's decision to pause its European Union membership bid has caused significant political ripples. What are the key factors driving such a decision?
Good evening. The key factors are pressure from Russia, uh, which is fearing a Ukraine-type scenario. The uh, Georgians have negotiated a deal with the EU, and the effect of this deal, a trade deal and also potentially a security deal, will be to detach Georgia from the Russian sphere of influence and interest. And the Russians cannot abide that. And the Russians have been putting pressure on behind the scenes to at least pause the Georgian progress towards Europe.
Mhm. Well, this suspension followed accusations of electoral fraud and a crackdown on protests. How does this impact Georgia's political alignment, both domestically and with the rest of Europe?
Well, the alignment of Georgia to Europe and the EU in particular is a process, and it'll take a long time. But the deal with the EU has certain clauses which kick in immediately, or particularly the alignment on trade. And so the Russians are concerned, but also the Europeans are concerned because it's straight out of the Russian playbook in terms of cutting out a democratic will to align the country, Georgia in this case, with the West. The West also has interests in Georgia, particularly as an alternative route for Central Asian oil and trade with Europe, cutting out Russia. And so the West is backing the Georgian interest in Europe, but the Georgian interest, democratic interest, is not forced by the West. It's a reaction to Russian pressure.
Sir, now the domestic sort of reaction to this suspension has really, it was pro-European Union opposition and factions in Georgia. They voiced a lot of strong opposition. How do you think this will affect the Georgian democracy and governance as a whole?
Well, as you know, the Georgian president is due to step down from a mandate in a couple of weeks' time, Salome Zurabishvili, but she has indicated that she will not step down because the elections, she alleges, and there's evidence to back that, was fraudulent, and the actions of the government are anti-constitutional. The Constitution of Georgia requires that they make efforts to join NATO and the EU. And so Georgian democracy is split and is in a problem, and explains the violence on the streets.
Well, Mr. Williams, the current Georgian government faces a lot of accusations of being pro-Russian, while its supporters claim the opposition is attempting to steer Georgia towards becoming another Ukraine. What are your thoughts on this polarized dynamic?
Well, yes, it is a polarized dynamic, and the Georgian government faces a dilemma. They don't want to confront the Russians. They don't want to have the situation of invasion as the Ukraine had. And so from its perspective, it is trying to balance on a tightrope.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, this balancing on the tightrope is risks risks falling into the Russian hands, and they've taken some measures already in May or earlier this year to almost um, prohibit Western influence in Ukraine,
Mis-
in Georgia, sorry.
Yes. Well, Mr. Williams, given Georgia's strategic location between Russia and the West, what are the potential security implications of this political crisis for both Georgia and the wider region, including NATO's role?
Well, Georgia borders on Turkey. Turkey is a NATO member. Turkey also has a difficult balancing problem with Russia. It doesn't want to provoke the Russians too much, but it's firmly in the Western camp in trying to forestall Russian influence. And the Turks will be worried that this falling of the Georgian government for Russia into Russian's arms will make its own position more difficult. And so there are implications. But the West has enough on its plate with Ukraine, and it doesn't want to see another problem with
Yes.
Georgia. And this is why the Russians feel easy in its skin to actually meddle in Georgian affairs.